There is a famous observation attributed to Carl Jung. In all chaos there is a cosmos, in all disorder a secret order. At first glance, this statement might seem to be an abstract piece of philosophical musing. But consider how it applies to our everyday longing for growth, especially when life feels chaotic or uncertain. We tend to see potential as something that's either realized in the first part of our life, through educational achievements, career steps, or social milestones, or something that disappears if we haven't made it by a certain age. Yet what if real expansion lies precisely in the chaos, the uncharted territory of our psyche, waiting to be discovered at any stage? What if the assumption that our growth is locked into a predetermined schedule is, in fact, the greatest limitation we impose upon ourselves? These questions might unsettle some of our well-worn beliefs. We hear so often that by the time we reach adulthood, our personality is set, our patterns entrenched, and our possibilities fixed. But there is another perspective, one rooted in Jungian psychology, which suggests that each of us carries a secret orchard of hidden seeds, seeds of new talents, of unexpressed creativity, of deeper connections with ourselves and others. These possibilities do not wither away simply because we've left our 20s or 30s. Instead, they wait for us to cultivate them whenever the conditions are right. Could it be that the chaos of our life, the unexpected detours, the heartbreaks, the restless yearning for something more, is precisely the soil needed for these seeds to sprout into new life? Let us explore this notion of undiscovered potential from the standpoint of Jung's ideas, and see how modern psychology and neuroscience support the view that growth is indeed an ongoing process. We'll examine why so many people feel trapped by the misconception that it's too late or that expansion ends when real life begins. And more importantly, we'll discover that if we're willing to step off the well-trodden path and enter our inner orchard, there's new life waiting just beyond our preconceptions. Questions naturally arise. Which aspects of ourselves remain buried? Why do we hesitate to water those hidden seeds? And how can we break free from the common fear that our best days are behind us? When we are young, the idea of growth is ingrained in us from every angle. We are told to dream about what we want to be when we grow up. We're encouraged to pick up hobbies, explore clubs and after-school activities, test our interests, and discover our passions. Each stage of childhood and adolescence comes with a built-in sense of expansion. But as we transition into adulthood, our culture subtly switches gears. Suddenly, we're expected to choose a path and stick with it. The open horizons of our youth narrow into adult responsibilities, careers, mortgages, family obligations, social expectations. We hear phrases like, "This is just how life is," or "You can't teach an old dog new tricks." Somewhere amid all these demands, the door to personal exploration can slam shut. Society often conflates maturity with stasis, suggesting that by early adulthood, our personality is already formed, our potential is basically set, and any further tinkering is unnatural or even impractical. This assumption leads to a stagnation of self-discovery. We fall into routines, carry out repetitive tasks, and define ourselves by increasingly rigid roles. While structure and responsibility serve essential purposes, the myth that we cannot expand beyond them or evolve within them is powerful and damaging. Jung's perspective challenges this myth at its core. He believed that the psyche evolves throughout life, making the second half of life in many ways a new beginning. He also held that within every person exists a wealth of unconscious material, both raw and refined, that remains untapped, awaiting emergence. Jung's approach asks us to look beyond superficial limitations and engage with the deeper layers of the psyche, where the seeds of possibility lie dormant until we consciously decide to explore them. From a purely psychological standpoint, The fact that our perspective might shift in midlife or beyond doesn't contradict who we were in youth. Instead, it offers an opportunity to mature in ways we could not have imagined when we were younger. A growing body of research in neuroscience even confirms the plasticity of our brain well into adulthood. Contrary to what was once believed, new neural pathways can form, new learning can occur, and profound psychological changes are not only possible but also beneficial to our well-being. By bridging Jung's theory of lifelong individuation with modern neuroscience, we see a persuasive case for ongoing personal expansion that defies societal constraints. Picture for a moment that within you is a vast garden that has never been fully cultivated. During your childhood and teenage years, you might have planted some seeds, curiosities, talents, and dreams, but you also left entire sections of the garden untouched because you simply weren't aware of them yet. When adulthood arrives, you may focus only on the plants that seem to make sense, the ones that promise job security, family approval, or predictable outcomes. Over time, other seeds remain undiscovered in the dark soil. Yet the soil itself is always fertile, and with the right attention, warmth, and water, these hidden seeds can sprout into something new, even decades after you first began your life's journey. We can see evidence of this hidden orchard in real life. Think of the person who, after 20 years in a single career, decides to start a second professional path that truly ignites their passion. Or the individual who rediscovered painting in their 50s and now experiences a renaissance of creativity. Or maybe the retiree who finally learns to play the guitar and feels more alive than ever. These examples are not flukes. They are genuine expressions of the psyche's ongoing capacity to realize unclaimed potential. Jung would say these people have begun the process of individuation at a deeper level, stepping outside the confines of their earlier persona and societal expectations. The persona is a concept Jung used to describe the mask or public face we wear. It helps us navigate society by presenting an acceptable version of ourselves to the world. For many of us, the persona crystallizes in adulthood. We define ourselves by what is considered normal or achievable, ignoring the urges or callings that don't fit our carefully crafted identity. The older we get, the more we think that mask is who we truly are, forgetting there might be an entire orchard behind it. Yet Jung taught that a fulfilling growth process lies beyond the persona, in the labyrinthine corridors of the self that we rarely explore. If we truly want to expand, we inevitably confront our shadow, another Jungian term referring to the parts of ourselves we've repressed or denied, traits we dislike, fears we refuse to acknowledge, desires we've shut away. These shadow elements guard many of our hidden potentials. Ironically, we often relegate to the shadow not only negative traits, but also positive attributes that we felt we couldn't express. The moment we attempt to expand, to cultivate a new seed in our life, the shadow may arise with warnings. You're not creative. Who do you think you are to try something new? Or you'll fail, it's too late. These messages often reflect old wounds or societal judgments rather than present truths. Transitioning from one life stage to another, whether it's mid-20s to early 30s, midlife, or even retirement, can trigger a psychological transition that stirs the shadow. Feeling an urge to deviate from a known path can create internal conflict. We may be drawn to something fresh and exciting, but worried about how it will be perceived or whether we can handle change. Jung understood this tension well. He believed that acknowledging and engaging with the shadow is a crucial step toward individuation, the fuller realization of our unique individuality. By facing our hidden fears and desires, we free energy that was once locked away, allowing it to fuel our new growth. Consider how modern research aligns with this. Studies in adult development psychology demonstrate that people who engage in new learning or creative pursuits in midlife show improved cognitive health, increased emotional resilience, and greater life satisfaction. Neuroscience has confirmed that the adult brain, though different from a child's, retains plasticity. It can adapt, grow, and transform through experiences, practice, and even a shift in mindset. Our neural networks can rewire to accommodate new skills and insights, reinforcing Jung's belief that major transformations are not relegated to youth. Indeed, this ongoing ability to learn suggests our psyche, much like a garden, is never too old for fresh seeds to take root. As we pass through these stages, we become aware that we are never static. Perhaps we had an image of ourselves as the responsible one in the family, always too busy with obligations to attempt something creative. Meanwhile, an unwatered seed of artistic inspiration waits inside. Or we see ourselves as logical, dismissing emotional or intuitive sides, never realizing that stepping into that domain might bring about profound personal expansion. This tension between who we think we are and who we could be is the fertile ground of possibility that Jung highlights. The challenge is learning how to cultivate those unknown parts in a society that often pressures us to remain consistent to a certain image. Transformation is rarely immediate or dramatic. More often, it's the gradual accumulation of subtle shifts. You might read a book that sparks a new perspective. A conversation with a friend may lead you to sign up for a class you'd never considered before. A dissatisfaction with your day-to-day routine can inspire a deep dive into your own psyche to uncover old dreams and joys. Each of these small steps can be viewed as an irrigation channel leading water into a new corner of your inner garden. Yet to truly water these seeds, we must also engage with the deeper layers of our unconscious. Jung believed that many of our true callings and wellsprings of creativity lie hidden beneath conscious awareness. Through methods such as dream analysis, active imagination, or journaling, we can begin to understand the symbols and messages that bubble up from our unconscious mind. Neuroscience supports this integration approach, showing that creative insights often emerge when the mind is given time to wander, to process without constant external input. In quiet moments, perhaps even as we drift off to sleep or in the stillness of an early morning walk, the unconscious can offer clues about which seeds need our attention and how we can help them grow. Of course, this path is not without resistance. Our shadow might present us with self-doubt, fear of failure, or concern about social judgment. At the same time, our persona may resist being changed, preferring the comfort and predictability of who we have always been. Growth requires bravery to break from these familiar patterns, yet the payoff is enormous. By confronting the shadow, we reintegrate the lost and exiled parts of ourselves. By loosening the grip of our persona, we can be more honest, vulnerable, and open to new experiences. The orchard metaphor becomes alive. Each tree that we finally attend to bears fruit, nourishing our sense of purpose and allowing us to share that bounty with the world. Underlying all these processes is the question: are we willing to accept that our potential is not a finished product but an ongoing creation, shaped by both conscious choice and unconscious currents? Jung would argue that recognizing this truth marks the real threshold to personal expansion. Too many of us are convinced that the blueprint of who we are is irrevocable by the time we leave our 20s. The latest psychological and neurological findings beg to differ, showing that we can, and often must, reinvent ourselves. When we explore the shadow and reassess our persona, we integrate aspects of ourselves that once seemed too unwieldy or irrelevant for everyday life. This integration fosters a sense of wholeness, a term Jung used to describe the ultimate aim of individuation. Rather than being divided, compartmentalized, or trapped in habitual ways of living, we begin to experience unity between conscious and unconscious, between the person we are in public and the person we are in private. This internal harmony, though never perfect or complete, becomes a powerful foundation for ongoing growth. Jung's theory of individuation is supported by contemporary thinkers like James Hollis, who emphasizes the importance of midlife transitions as opportunities to reassess the stories we tell about ourselves. Similarly, research from Harvard's study of adult development suggests that emotional well-being, relationship quality, and sense of purpose often improve when individuals continue to explore new directions in their 40s, 50s, 60s, and beyond. The synergy between Jung's century-old insights and today's research underscores a fundamental truth. Though society might encourage a linear path of development, the human psyche is far more dynamic, capable of blossoming in ways unimaginable in earlier decades. There are also neuroscientists such as Dr. Daniel Siegel who speak about neuroplasticity and the capacity for change that extends throughout life. Studies indicate that challenging oneself with new experiences, learning unfamiliar skills, and fostering emotional openness can reshape neural pathways at any age. This scientific view aligns almost seamlessly with Jung's notion that we are never truly done growing. Our biology and psyche both come pre-wired with an astonishing resilience and adaptability that can ignite at any point, given the right circumstances. In practice, this means that if you have a yearning to paint, to travel, to write poetry, to mentor others, or to adopt a new worldview that defies your previous logic, you're not betraying who you were. You're embracing who you can become. The old idea that adult life is simply more of the same is a cultural myth, not a psychological reality. And yes, the path is not without obstacles. It takes self-reflection, support from loved ones or professionals, and the courage to be misunderstood. Yet time and again, we see individuals who dive into this process speak of a sense of coming home to themselves, an emergence of authenticity that had long been hidden beneath layers of cultural shoulds and personal doubts. Your shadow may whisper 1,000 reasons to remain in the status quo. You're too old to learn this. It's foolish to start over. People will judge you. But these whispers only hold as much power as we give them. In truth, each stage of life carries its own energy for growth, provided we are open to it. Even sadness, restlessness, or confusion can become catalysts for transformation if we look at them not as signs of defeat, but as signals from deeper parts of the self, inviting us to reimagine our identity. Personal expansion also offers a broader benefit, extending into our relationships. When we explore previously neglected aspects of ourselves, we bring a richer presence to those we love. Our conversations deepen, our empathy widens, and we begin to inspire others simply by embodying this openness. Whether you're a parent, partner, coworker, or friend, your willingness to stay curious about your own growth sets a powerful example that transformation is indeed possible for anyone. The orchard metaphor fits here as well. A once neglected corner of your internal garden, newly cultivated, can provide shade and fruit for others who wander by. Ultimately, personal expansion is not about chasing perfection or discarding our past selves. It's about evolving into a more integrated version of who we are, someone who acknowledges the richness and contradictions within, who can laugh at the old limitations that once felt so binding, and who can gently navigate the next unknown step with curiosity rather than dread. This is precisely the realm where Jung's psychology meets modern science. Both emphasize that growth is not a luxury, but an integral part of our humanity. Experts in the field echo these sentiments. Contemporary psychologists highlight how adult learning programs and creative therapies contribute not only to skill acquisition, but also to a deeper sense of identity renewal. Neuropsychologist Dr. Elkanan Goldberg points out that the frontal lobes of our brain, key to complex thought and adaptation, remain capable of forming new connections well past our middle years. Meanwhile, Dr. Brené Brown's work on vulnerability and authenticity aligns with Jung's emphasis on confronting the shadow and loosening the grip of the persona. Brown's research shows that embracing vulnerability paves the way for courage and connection, precisely what is needed to cultivate new potentials. Furthermore, longitudinal studies support the idea that individuals who remain open to new identities and self-exploration report higher levels of life satisfaction. They tend to navigate changes, such as career shifts, empty nest syndrome, or retirement transitions, with greater resilience, finding purpose in realms once deemed off-limits. Many even discover that the passions they set aside earlier in life return with a surprising intensity, offering renewed vitality. This collection of expert insights and empirical data forms a chorus resonating with Jung's original message, that the psyche is alive, constantly changing, and capable of turning chaos into a cosmos of growth. Perhaps one of the most poignant aspects of this conversation is the realization that it's never truly too late. No matter how old you are, no matter how many times you've deferred your dreams or ignored your quiet callings, each new day offers a doorway to expansion. Jung believed that the soul, or psyche, remains an active force throughout the entire lifespan, urging us toward wholeness. This wholeness is not about becoming someone else. It's about uncovering the deeper threads of who we've always been at the core, allowing them to flourish and contribute to our life's meaning. All of this brings us back to the seemingly paradoxical quote from Jung that we started with: "In all chaos there is a cosmos, in all disorder a secret order." Now, perhaps it resonates differently. The chaos we face in transitions is not a sign of failure or finality. It is the stirring of seeds we may have forgotten. The so-called disorder in our predictable routines might be the sign that a new orchard of possibilities is ready to bloom. At this point, you might feel a sense of excitement or a gentle unease. Questions arise. Which seeds have I left unattended in my life? What aspects of my shadow might I need to befriend so that I can fully expand? How will my relationships and self-image evolve if I embrace this ongoing growth? These questions can be uncomfortable, but they are also powerful signposts guiding you toward an uncharted corner of your orchard. The very act of asking them signifies a shift. You're no longer unconsciously accepting the myth that everything worthwhile happens before midlife, or that personal growth has an expiration date. Our journey ends fittingly in a place of hope and possibility. The orchard metaphor comes full circle, revealing that life, at any stage, holds unclaimed potentials. Personal expansion doesn't cancel out your past. Instead, it invites you to weave your entire history, successes, failures, joys, and regrets, into a new tapestry. By blending Jung's timeless vision with contemporary scientific research, we gain confidence in our capacity to renew ourselves. Rather than seeing adulthood or midlife as an end, we see it as an invitation, a threshold leading to deeper self-knowledge, creativity, and fulfillment. As you reflect on these ideas, you might notice a softening of your old beliefs and a subtle opening to paths once dismissed. In acknowledging that the psyche remains fertile ground for growth, we start to see the hidden orchard within us all. And with that recognition, the orchard begins to bloom, no matter our age, no matter our fears, and no matter how society might try to confine us. May this perspective shift inspire you to nurture the seeds you've yet to discover, allowing them to blossom into a new chapter of your life's ever-unfolding story.